So welcome to another episode of Amandla Conversations. My name is Toun Okewale-Shonaiya, and I'm very honored to have with me two young feminists, Priscillia Usiobaifo, a feminist, founder and executive director, Braveheart Initiative for Youth and Women, and I call you BHI. Hi, Priscilla.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. And I also have Dr Tumininu Adedeji, a feminist and executive director, Balm in Gilead Foundation for Sustainable Development. Big if. How are you, Doctor?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me. Hello, viewers. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's so good to have the two of you here. I'm going to shoot off with you, Dr. Tumininu. Your project in the Southwest highlights the fragmentation of women's movement. In your opinion, what do you think has historically limited stronger coordination among feminist and women-led organizations in that region?
All right. Thank you very much. We work majorly in the Southwest, so I'll be speaking in the context of the Southwest as well as national. So I'm going to mention firstly the disconnect between the urban and the rural women movement. Because, you know, most of the strategies that women movements have used they have used the top-bottom strategy, which has not been working for us in the previous years. It would be better if we rather used the bottom-up strategy, where even at the grassroots, women understand what we are asking for, what we are looking for, and that it is going to be in their own interest. And so from the grassroots, we are able to mobilize, bring together women, and then they will connect with what the elites are asking on their behalf, because we are asking, the elites are doing this work majorly for the women at the grassroots. So everybody should come together. So the disconnect really is affecting us. Then another thing is the patriarchal system. We all know that we have been socialized, everybody, including women, at the grassroots, we have the element of patriarchy in our socialization. And so it has affected women, and it has affected, even while we are deliberating as feminists, as women, we still have this element within us that will be saying, no, you can't do this, you have to negotiate. You cannot, you cannot be that assertive. It cannot be confrontational. You have to negotiate and all of that. So the patriarchal system is really an issue. Then lastly, I will talk about the competition when it comes to the donor funding competition among women. You know, majorly women organizations, women movements later got into all this donor partnership and all of that. And, you know, we have to start, and because the space is also shrinking, and we have to tussle for donor, for funds rather, to come in to support the work that we are doing. Of course, finance is very important in anything.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All I'm hearing is the disconnection, the patriarchal system, the competition, and finance. And I'm glad that you're working on that, and hopefully we can bridge that gap. Priscilla, I'm coming to you. What does meaningful intergenerational collaboration look like in feminist organizing beyond symbolic inclusion of young women?
Thank you. I've been in the feminist movement for about 18 years. If I to count the formal work, I belong to the Nigerian Feminist Forum, which is the branch of the African Feminist Forum. And in Edo State, I have been working with a lot of feminist institutions. Braveheart is identifying itself as a feminist institution beyond me being a feminist. But I like the use of the word meaningful that you have put there. So how do we make it meaningful? First, as feminists, especially as feminists in Nigeria, we need to understudy our ecosystem. That is very needed, and to conduct an audit of the kind of infrastructure that the feminist movement needs to thrive in this current evolving world, thriving across generation, thriving across ideologies, thriving across involving context. This is very key for us, because the word intersectionality has been thrown around. But we know that is at the heart of the feminist movement because issues are cross-cutting. Issues are interrelated, interwoven. The second thing we need to do as younger feminists is a collective understanding of the feminist movement. How do we do this? By identifying the values, the practices, and sharing the experiences that have strengthened the movement over the years. Because when we learn from the past, we can embrace new forms of organizing, leadership, care, accountability, coalition building, alliance strengthening required for the future. Because the end goal is a shared articulation of the movement aspiration for the next decade.
Thank you very much. So this is Amandla Conversations, and I'm just going to come back to you, Dr. Tumininu. Your project focuses on investing in young females. And I think that is strategic, very strategic. Why is intergenerational leadership now critical to the future or sustainability of women's movement in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. That's a very good one. So we decide to work on intergenerational dialogues and, bringing young feminists with older ones who've started this movement. Because we think feminism or women movements or women issue movements should be like a relay race where batons are passed. And so, number one, for the knowledge sake, the older feminists, they have the history. They understand the ideology. They know why feminism started in the first place. And so this knowledge is very important, that this knowledge is being passed down so that by the time younger ones are coming up, they are not coming with other ideas about feminism, and they are able to understand the real purpose and work also towards achieving it. So we are looking at the shared vision, the opportunity for both the older ones to pass the shared vision down to us. And then we are also looking at sharing of power and platforms from both. When you are passing baton, you are already giving the power that, okay, we have done our part, take it and then run ahead. And so all the participants, I don't know what they call them in the race, I'm not a sports person, in that race will, the target is the goal, the line. Sorry. Yes, so, but one person at some point had to shield or yield the platform to the other to take it along. So both the power, the knowledge, the ideas needs to be passed to the younger one, then to move forward. And so the next person that is being passed, that the baton is being passed to, now can add his own or her own energy to it. In this context, our own energy as a feminist to it. Energy means social media, digital, technical, other, technology, to add all these spices to it to make it run faster and to get to the goal. So, the younger feminists come with their own skills and ability and all of that, while the older ones comes with the history and the ideas about feminism.
Thank you very much. Dr. Tumininu, you know what I'm loving about this? It's that baton, the way you're explaining it, the baton must be passed and we must not drop it.
Yes.
And I think that is very, very critical in the things we're doing. This is Amandla Conversations, and I have with me Priscilla and Dr. Tumininu. Priscilla, I'm coming to you. How can young, because earlier we were talking and you spoke about your role as a bridge. You are a bridge between the older and the younger. So how can younger feminists assert agency while still benefiting from the institutional memory and experience of older generations without reproducing power tensions?
Wow. Power tensions is across generations. Yes, I know that the end goal is for it not to be reproduced. For we to use the word reproduce means that we're acknowledging that it exists and that we need to strategically put an end to it. And even if we can't reach the goal of ending it, at least reduce it to the barest minimum. I feel that one of the good things that can happen for us is for older feminists to share their lived experiences of managing conflict. My sister here mentioned about the relay race, whereby you know that you are not the first person to deal with these issues. I keep making reference to Beijing, to ICPD, the International Conference on Population and Development, and the program of action that was developed as well as the Benji platform for action. That these are issues that have been on for over 30 years. And so many young people are meeting up with it. I belong to the millennial. The Gen Zs are already dealing with some of these issues also. We have the Gen X, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, all addressing similar issues. But the question is, this conflict that we have within us, is it for our own good or is it for harm? Because if we said we are working towards a collective purpose and we have a shared vision, at every point in time, we should be careful of the things that divide us and pay better attention to what unites us. So understanding of how older people manage conflicts, learn from their conflict management skills. Of course, there are contemporary issues that some of the older people might not have envisaged.
Yeah.
So we can share even within ourselves. So as young feminists, when we come around, most time it's talking about consolidating gain. But do we see failure as a subject matter we should start addressing? Because failure can be subjective.
Yeah.
You are saying that you failed. Someone else is saying you done your best in that regard. So let's rework on the strategy. At every point in time, we can go back to the drawing board to see how to improve on what we have done so far. But I feel that those tensions, they are part of human realities. Absolutely. And the tension does not just exist within the feminist movement. The men has movements. Absolutely. And there are tensions within those movements. Yeah. But they don't dwell on the tension. Absolutely. So we too, we need to have to learn how to navigate the system to ensure that at the end of the day, that our collective aspiration remains the target and the focus.
Aspiration matters. And the phrase you said that we need to be careful about what divides us. We have to be intentional. We have to understand what divides us and ensure that we do not allow that to happen and that we work on it. This is Amandla Conversations with Priscilla and Dr. Adedeji, Dr. Tumininu. Dr. Tumininu, I'm coming to you. Your project at the Balm of Gilead, it seeks to translate grassroots evidence into advocacy tools that influence policy. Now, in practical terms, how can local women's experiences be better positioned to shape state and national conversations on GBV prevention?
Okay, so we need to understand that when we are talking about any social change, which GBV is included, it is very important for our advocacy to be data-driven. So where do we get this data from? From those who had experienced gender-based violence at some point in their lives. So, and mostly they are from the grassroots, the communities. I want to acknowledge the work that my sister also is doing, PHI is doing in Gara. Just like every other community-based organization, Balm and Gilead Foundation as well, all these initiatives are meant to give support to survivors and also bring their voices out to be heard. And then by the time we are talking about gender-based violence, we are able to present to policymakers that these things are really happening when we are able to document the stories of survivors, the stories of those who have lived the experience of gender-based violence within our communities, and they are in their numbers within the community. So policy documents, briefing documents can be developed. Documentations can be done. Both virtual, video ones, verbal ones, written documentation can be done to be presented as policy advocacy document to legislators who can make laws and legislations. Here we have laws and legislations in Nigeria prohibiting gender-based violence. Then we also need policy advocacy around implementation. So it's very strong that we also discuss that. But what's the importance of putting my money in what I did not know exists? That's where the experiences of survivors comes to play, to make policy makers see that these things really exist, and then our money needs to go there and it should be budgeted for.
Thank you, Dr. Adedeji. Data is the new currency.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you're talking and speaking to the data-driven work that we're doing. Priscilla, what structural changes are needed within movements to ensure leadership transition is intentional, that it is continuous, and it is not crisis-driven?
For me, we've done a lot of work that we are not addressing the structural issues. So, and at this point, we really need to invest on structural issues, systemic issues that have kept the movement. But if you look at Nigeria, for instance, most movements are driven by organizations. Like feminist movements are usually driven by feminist, reputable feminist organizations. So for me, if you want to strengthen the movement, it means you also have to look at the individual organization. When you look at the GBV network in Edo State, Braveheart is playing a critical role in that place. So if we want to start, is to start with Braveheart. What is our governance structure in Braveheart like? I was talking earlier in the day how even from the board composition of Braveheart, the management level composition of Braveheart, the staffing of Braveheart, we deliberately get young people in place, not for tokenistic donor fulfillment requirement. The young people that we have trained, that we have mentored, whose capacity we built over the years. So my first recommendation would be that there are governance documents that within movement limit key leadership roles. There are positions in decision making that are reserved for young people. Nigerian youth policy says 15 to 29. I like to make mention of that because most time when we also speak about young people, we see 60 years old coming up as young people.
Yeah.
So we need to also be guided with the existing laws and policies in our organization. For movement also, we need to strategically plan around succession. So succession planning that is part of the governance agenda from the beginning. Second thing is resource allocation. Resource for emerging leaders, dedicated development funds for younger leaders, and young feminist-led organization, explicit resource allocation in annual budgets. Very clear that this is for advocacy opportunities, donor relationship opportunity being shared even among movements with younger people. The third suggestion would be a deliberate rotation of public-facing roles. Emerging leaders are briefed, supported, coached, mentored to speak in high-level meetings, platform, even co-facilitation. And this will be enshrined as a standard practice. You know, something that is institutionalized. Lastly is around the way we do knowledge transfer. Let's make our knowledge transfer structured. A kind of infrastructure that the feminist movement needs right now is something that the history, the relationship, joint strategic planning, mentoring with defined deliverables. Something that is structured within the knowledge gap. So if we have things like that in place, then we really, and I believe that that's big shift or transformation that we're anticipating in the next decade will be realized.
Priscilla. And as we're rounding off on Amandla and Conversations, I'm coming to you lastly now, Dr. Tumininu. So through mentorship, through dialogue, through internship placements, your project, right, Balm of Gilead, has it's created pathways for the emerging advocates. What qualities do you believe the next generation of feminist leaders, I'm talking about qualities now, what qualities do you think they need in Nigeria to possess and effectively confront evolving gender and governance challenges?
Thank you. So I will talk firstly on clarity. So the young feminists need to understand, they need to have clarity on what exactly we are talking about. So they need to be clear on the ideas or ideologies of feminism. Two, I will talk about courage. You know, passion is not enough. When your passion is
Threatening.
is not, yes, it's threatening. When your passion is not even geared towards the positive path that you have charted for yourself, then you get demoralized. So courage is very important as one of the skills they need to have. I mean, because I'll put myself as part of those feminists, young feminists. So courage, then political intelligence. We need to understand how to address issues. You know, earlier today yesterday we were talking about negotiation, policy advocacy, different kind of strategies that women movement or feminist movement are used to achieve some gains, at least to this extent. So the young feminists need to understand that it's not about, activism is part of it, but it's not always about activism. It's strategically programming or organizing to ensure that the goal is that we want to achieve so thing, and then every other thing comes together. Collaboration is the last thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So for what I'm hearing here, passion is beautiful, but it would not take you anywhere. Clarity, courage, political intelligence, and collaborations. And we're coming to the end of another Amandla Conversations. For me, Toun Okewale-Shonaiya, I'm honored, very honored to sit with young, powerful feminist, Priscillia Usiobaifo, a feminist and founder, and executive director, Braveheart Initiative for Youth and Women, BHI. You're doing a fantastic job, right? And we're very proud of what you're doing. Dr Tumininu Adedeji, another young feminist, executive director, Balm in Gilead Foundation for Sustainable Development. Big well done for what you're doing. As I said, I'm very honored, and this is Amandla Conversations. My name is Toun Okewale-Shonaiya, and we hope you stay tuned for another fantastic edition of Amandla Conversations. Well done, ladies. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you for having us.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank